Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Got a story here sent to me by almost everybody, so thank you very much. And it's not exactly the biggest legal quandary of our times, but it is something that a lot of people were interested in. Georgia man caught speeding at 90 in a 55, shocked by $1.4 million ticket. Before clarification, turns out that's not the real amount of the ticket. We don't do that here in America. The story's from the Associated Press, and of course there are countries on earth where if you get a speeding ticket, it's not a flat rate that everyone pays. It's based on your income. So some people pay more than others, and some tickets have been quite large. But here, the man from Georgia was left reeling after he received a $1.4 million speeding ticket. City officials, however, say the figure was just a placeholder, not the actual fine, a placeholder. Now, why not 1.5 million? Why not 2 million? Why not, I don't know, death by firing squad? I mean, if you're just going to put something random there, why not, I don't know, TBD, to be determined? Or why not just placeholder? $1.4 million. It seems like an awfully specific number for a placeholder, but I could be wrong. The man tells TV station in Savannah that he got the ticket after getting pulled over in September for driving 90 in a 55. And I'm not even sure if he denies that. Bigger concern, of course, is the $1.4 million. He called the court thinking it maybe was a typo, but says he was told he either had to pay it or appear in court. So he thought to himself, pay it or appear in court. Pay it, appear in court. So he decided, I guess, to appear in court. Savannah officials say anyone caught driving more than 35 above has to appear in court, where a judge will determine the actual fine. So this is not a fine that is just simply, like off a menu. Then above this, go to court. And quite often that's because it might not be a civil infraction anymore. And that is a clarification or distinction that many people might not be aware of. But simply doing 5 over or 10 over the speed limit, generally speaking, is simply a traffic citation for a civil infraction, meaning it's not even considered a crime. However, there's often a limit. Once you break this limit, it's considered to be a crime. And there's also other driving infractions that be considered crimes, like reckless driving in many states is a misdemeanor, meaning you can go to jail for it, along with points in your license, losing your license for a period of time, and so on. So that's something like you can't just pay a reckless driving ticket and move on with your life. You got to go to court and adjudicate it. Adjudicate it. The man says that he got that huge number and he was told it was a placeholder automatically generated by e-citation software used by the local recorder's court. And that also is something that's said by a spokesperson for Savannah's city government. And in case you're curious, the actual fine cannot exceed $1,000 by state law. So state law says that these local municipalities can impose fines up to $1,000. But then it says, in addition to state-mandated costs. So if you're ever in court, you'll often hear the judge say, well, that comes with a mandatory fine of $500 and a court fee of $75 and a double secret probation fee of $200 and a state crime victim fund fee of $38. And like, I'm up there as an attorney writing all this stuff down for my client, and I'm doing the quick math there. Because when you walk out in the hallway, the first thing they go is, wait, what, how much do I owe now? Oh, don't worry, the clerk will tell you. And they probably take credit cards too. We do not issue that placeholder as a threat to scare anybody into court, even if this person heard differently from somebody in our organization. So why did they do that? He said the court is currently working on adjusting the placeholder language to avoid confusion. So apparently, the implication here is that the number was being used on purpose. Maybe they had a big space to fill in and they needed, I don't know, 7 digits. But, again, you could put anything in there, including the words to be determined or the letters TBD. But again, it's a bizarre situation. And I remember when I first saw the headline, man gets $1.4 million speeding ticket. My first thought was, oh, this happened over in Europe or something. And I saw Georgia, and I'm like, wait, there is a country called Georgia, isn't there? But there's also a state called Georgia, I believe. I've driven through it a few times, I know. But I thought, I'm not aware of any states in America doing that crazy, let's tie the speeding ticket to your income thing just yet. It's probably coming, but not yet, not yet. And so when I read the story, I'm like, oh, okay, it was in essence a mistake or an unclear thing, but it was a placeholder. But amazingly, the man was told, well, pay it or get a court date. Well, I suspect most people are getting court dates. And it turns out that the man needed to get a court date anyway because of the fact that it was more than 35 over, apparently. So I guess 90 and a 55 would be exactly 35 over. But there are some minor little issues of clarification here that we don't know the answers to. But this is from the Associated Press, and I've seen a story everywhere. And I've mentioned before, I had somebody ask me the other day about doing pro bono work. And I said, well, you know, I started thinking back on various cases I've handled for people. And the person talking to me said, well, what about all those tickets you handled for the Woodward Dream Cruise? Weren't those pro bono? I said, actually, they were. I just forgot all about that. But there was a time when, you have to understand, there's a car show in the Detroit area once a year called the Woodward Dream Cruise. And it involves hundreds of thousands of people bringing their cars. It's a huge, huge car show / traffic jam that encompasses like 10 cities up and down Woodward Avenue. And the police are often out there in full force. And sometimes they write tickets for people who are being a little overzealous and accelerating and things of that nature. And I heard a guy complaining once on a morning show a day or two after the Dream Cruise that he'd gotten a ticket there. And I called up and said, hey, I'll represent that guy for free. I'm an attorney. I'll handle his case for free. I feel sorry for him because he got a ticket at the Dream Cruise. And the host said on the air, oh, that's generous of you. Will you represent other people? And I said, sure, why not? A couple years later, after I'd represented about 500 people, I thought, you know something? I wonder if I would have said yes if I'd realized how this is going to get so large in terms of how much work it's going to take me. But as a result, if you said, Steve, of all the cases you've handled in your career, what kinds of cases have you handled? Well, lemon law cases would be number one. Number two, traffic tickets. And the amazing thing about the traffic tickets is the vast majority of them were on Woodward Avenue, one main drag that goes through all these communities where the Woodward Dream Cruise just happens to be. And quite often, those tickets weren't all dismissed, but what happened for the most part was I got many of them reduced substantially. So if you were given a ticket for, I don't know, careless driving or reckless driving because you spun your tires, we'd often get that talked down to an unsafe start, or sometimes even speeding, 5 over or something, or blockading traffic, which is a favorite. But got a huge number of them reduced. And then finally, some killjoys at the prosecutor's office said, by offering to do these tickets for free, we think you're encouraging people to break the law. And I said, you really think that someone reads an article in the paper and says, hey, there's this guy who handles tickets for free. I'm going to go out and do something crazy and hope he represents me. They said, yes, we do think that happens. And I said, okay. So anyways, I haven't done that in a little while, but also I haven't heard about as many people complaining about being ticketed at the Dream Cruise either. So maybe everyone's has kind of reached equilibrium where we're all happy. But as for the man who got the $1.4 million ticket, he did get something in writing saying, you owe us $1.4 million. And he says he was told by somebody, well, you can pay it or come to court. Take your pick. But it turns out paying it was not technically an option because he had to come to court because of the fact that it was 35 over, at least according to what I'm reading here between the lines. So in that state, they're not allowed to charge you more than $1,000, but the amount would be set by a judge. So that explains the story. The headline was wacky and got a lot of attention, but it said, Georgia man caught speeding at 90 in a 55, shocked by the $1.4 million ticket he got, but it's now been clarified he can go to court and pay a whole lot less. That story's from the Associated Press, but widely reported. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. If everything seems under control, you're just not going fast enough.